is your friend Happy Lobo, and today I've come with a new story. Do you know what I did this week? Something exciting. I launched my YouTube channel, and that's called Happy Lobo, and it's got lovely stories in it. So don't forget to go there, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Today's story is written by Hector Elizondo, and the title is Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch. This story is about happiness, and I want all of you to be happy and smiling. Okay? Are you ready for the story? Yes, let's start. Let me introduce to you Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch was... This is Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch was thin and he was tall, but he never smiled. Never smiled. Every morning he would get up sharp at 6:30 and he would dress up to go to his factory. Mr. Hatch worked in a shoelace factory. Yes, the factory where they make those lace on the shoes. And at the break time, that is when everybody goes and has their lunch, Mr. Hatch would sit in a corner. He would be all by himself and he would be eating his bread. And after that, one coffee. After work, Mr. Hatch had two stops. He would stop at the newspaper stand to pick his newspaper, of course, and then he would go to the grocery store. There, he would pick something for his dinner. But again, he never smiled. He never spoke to anyone. He would always be by himself. That's what everybody told about him, that he's always by himself. And do you know what he does after going home? After going home, he has his supper. Supper means dinner. The food at night, supper. He reads the newspaper, has his bath, and then he goes to bed. That's the day for Mr. Hatch. He did this, but he never smiled. One Saturday, when he didn't have to go to work, he started cleaning his house. And he was dusting. So he took his broom and his cloth and he was cleaning. And then as he was cleaning, he went to the main door, of course, to clean. And there was a surprise for him. There was a parcel for him. The postman, Mr. Goober, had brought him a parcel. Mr. Hatch never spoke to Mr. Goober. But this time he said, "Thank you, Mr. Goober." And Mr. Goober was a little surprised. And he smiled and said, "You're welcome. I love delivering packages." Mr. Hatch took the brown box. It was a pretty big brown box. He was a little confused because who would send Mr. Hatch a gift or a package? He was always alone. He didn't have any friends. But he got excited and he tore the package. And inside was another white box. Yes. And when he opened that box, he found another box in it. And it was a heart-shaped white box with a lovely ribbon on it. Mr. Hatch got confused. He started thinking, who would have sent me this gift? Who would have sent me this heart-shaped box? And inside, where? Let me show you what was there. There were candies in it. There were candies. This got Mr. Hatch very confused. He started thinking, I don't have any friends and I don't know who sent this. Suddenly he realized that out of the box came a small card. He just dropped down and he picked the card and he opened it and read, "Somebody loves you." It was written, "Somebody loves you." This got Mr. Hatch totally confused. He said, why would somebody send me this lovely package? And why would somebody send me a note which says somebody loves you? He said, that's something to think about. He kept the box aside and got busy with his dusting. He was dusting and dusting and dusting, but still his mind was going to the box. Occasionally he saw the box and he wondered who sent this package. But again he started dusting and dusting and dusting. Later he realized that even the dusting cloth looked as if it was telling him, "Somebody loves you, somebody loves you." And then he put the dusting cloth aside and he thought to himself, "Indeed, somebody loves me." And Mr. Hatch did something which he usually doesn't do. He smiled. Yes, a broad smile. Can you also give me that smile? Yes. He did something more than that. He laughed. He laughed. Yes, Mr. Hatch laughed. And he did something after that. He went inside, had a good bath, had a clean shave, put some nice perfume, and put some bright clothes, and he decided to go for a walk. Let me show you how this happy Mr. Hatch looked. Yes, broad smile, bright clothes, and he was out there on the walk. During the walk, Mr. Hatch greeted everyone. He doesn't do that usually. He greeted everyone. They were all surprised and they said, "Is that Mr. Hatch? Is he smiling? Is he greeting? Is he talking? Interesting." And Mr. Hatch went around everywhere. He was very happy and he came home. Then next day he had to go to work. So he got up at 6:30, wore some bright clothes and went to work. And this time he greeted everyone in the factory. Oh, everyone was really surprised with this greeting of his, because Mr. Hatch does not smile usually. And then during the break time, Mr. Hatch sat in the middle of everyone and he started talking to them. He even told them interesting things. This got everybody surprised. They were very happy about Mr. Hatch because he was smiling and talking. So after this, after work, Mr. Hatch went to two places. Remember the places I told you? The newspaper stand and the grocery store. At the newspaper stand, he met Mr. Smith, the newspaper guy. And he said, "Hi, Mr. Smith." Mr. Smith was surprised. "Is that you talking, Mr. Hatch?" He said, "Yes, it's me. In fact, Mr. Hatch offered him some mint. Would you like some mint?" This totally surprised him. And Mr. Hatch brought his newspaper. But then Mr. Hatch told Mr. Smith, "You look a little dull today. Why is it so?" And Mr. Smith said, "Yeah, I've been a little unwell today. A little cough. So I actually had to go to the doctor. But since the stand was very busy, I couldn't go." And Mr. Hatch said, "Oh my goodness, you're not well. You need to see a doctor. Why don't you see the doctor? Well, I will take care of your stand." This surprised Mr. Smith, but he was very happy that Mr. Hatch was offering to take care of his stand. And off he went to the doctor, and Mr. Hatch was taking care of the newsstand. And in the newsstand, whenever he saw some women passing by or buying a newspaper, he thought, would this be the lady who sent me that beautiful box of candies? Would this be that lady? And he was wondering. After that, he went to the grocery shop. And at the grocery shop, usually he buys bread. And today he said, "Let me buy some yummy chicken." And he was buying chicken from Mr. Todd. And he greeted Mr. Todd. Mr. Todd too was also surprised. And Mr. Hatch asked him, "Mr. Todd, you're looking a little dull today. Why is it so?" And Mr. Todd said, "Oh yeah, my little girl has not come from school. She usually comes at this time. She's not come to school. And I cannot leave the grocery store until my wife comes. I'm a little worried now." Said, "Goodness me," said Mr. Hatch, "your little girl has not come home. That means we need to look for her. Let me go to the school and look out for her." And so Mr. Hatch went to the school, and there he found little Melanie playing there. he spoke to Melanie and brought her to the grocery store. And Mr. Todd was very happy with this gesture, and he thanked Mr. Hatch. And this is how Mr. Hatch was. He was a very joyful man. He was a very happy man. He was helping everyone. He was talking to everyone. So that evening, Mr. Hatch went home. And today, he did not read the newspaper. And guess what he did? He decided to bake brownies. Yes, yummy brownies. I'm sure you all love brownies. Lovely. And he baked the brownies. But soon the smell of those fresh brownies spread outside. And there were a lot of children there. I can smell brownies. And they came rushing to Mr. Hatch's house. When Mr. Hatch realized that there were children there, he thought to himself, I baked these brownies for my friends in the factory, but I think they can wait. Let me give them to these children. So he took 2 plates full of freshly baked brownies, and he offered them to the children. And the children loved them. Mr. Hatch said, what are brownies without some wonderful lemonade? And quickly he made some lemonade and he offered them. The children loved it. In fact, the parents who came there to pick their children, they also enjoyed the brownies. And soon it was like a picnic there. Everybody was having fun. And that's when Mr. Hatch dusted his old harmonica. And he remembered his old tune from his college days. And he played it. He played it something like this. Yes, there was a lot of fun there. People were dancing and singing and of course tasting the brownies. So that is how the picnic ended. And every day Mr. Hatch would go around greeting everyone. He was smiling, and whenever he met somebody, he would offer to help them. Yes, he would inquire about them. He would offer to pick somebody. He would offer to fix something. He would offer even to feed the animals there. And that was Mr. Hatch. And every day there was something exciting happening in the town. But as the days went by, one day, one afternoon in fact, Mr. Goober, the postman, came and visited Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch said, "Hi, Mr. Goober, how are you?" This time Mr. Goober was very sad. He was very dull in fact. Mr. Goober was very confused. He came and told Mr. Hatch, Mr. Hatch, do you remember a few weeks back I gave you a parcel? Mr. Hatch said, "Yes, I do." I suppose you don't have it anymore? Mr. Hatch said, "I do have the box. In fact, there were lovely candies in it. The candies are all gone." But why do you ask me that, Mr. Goober? In fact, I delivered this package to the wrong house. And Mr. Hatch was very disturbed. He realized that the package was for somebody else, and it came into his house. Mr. Hatch went inside, brought the box, the empty box, and gave it to Mr. Goober and said, "Mr. Goober, I suppose this is what is left. You can give it to your manager and maybe he will be kind to you." And so Mr. Goober took it and went away. Immediately Mr. Hatch called him back and said, "Look, there's something else." And he gave him the card. Remember the card? Give him the card which said, "Somebody loves you." And Mr. Goober took it away. Very soon Mr. Hatch got thinking, and he realized that this package was not meant for him. That evening he read his newspaper, he had his bath, had his supper, and went to sleep. The next morning, sharp at 6:30, Mr. Goober was out of his house and walked 6 blocks and went to his factory. There, during lunchtime, he sat in a corner and had his bread. He didn't smile. He didn't smile at all. Everybody who saw him said, What's wrong with Mr. Hatch? And as days went by, Mr. Hatch was silent. He didn't smile at all. He never helped anyone. He never spoke to anyone. He was all by himself. Everybody thought that there's something wrong with Mr. Hatch. In fact, Mr. Goober said, yes, there was a wrong package that I delivered, after which Mr. Hatch has been very sad. In fact, the people of the town got together and said, Mr. Hatch was such a joyful person. What happened? One person said, he helped me with my house. Another person said, he helped me walk my dog. Another person said, he even took care of my house once. And Mr. Smith said, he helped me. He took care of my shop, and so that I could go to the doctor. In fact, Mr. Todd said he offered to fetch my daughter from the school. Everybody missed the happy and joyful Mr. Hatch. Above all, they missed his smile. They missed his laughter. And as they were thinking together, Mr. Goober the postman came with an idea. He said, I have an idea. Let's do something different. And so they all planned to do something exciting. Next morning, it was a Saturday, and Mr. Hatch woke up and he started dusting the house, and he opened the main door and he stepped out. And to his surprise, he saw beautiful decorations outside. He saw lovely hearts. He saw streamers. He saw boxes of candy out there. And as he saw further, he saw everybody from the town had come there. And all of them were holding a big banner which said, everybody loves you, Mr. Hatch. Yes, when Mr. Hatch saw this, he really had tears in his eyes. He started thinking to himself, oh my God, truly, there's so many people who love me. And he did something. He started smiling. And he also started laughing. He was so happy. And very soon, he became so joyful that he went and joined his friends, and they all had a picnic and they were all happy. And Mr. Hatch was smiling, he was happy, he was joyful, he was the same happy Mr. Hatch. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, we all like to see the happy, smiling Mr. Hatch, because he realized that after all, somebody loves him. That brings us to the end of this story. And you know why I love this story? Because I have something interesting to learn from this story. We often don't tell the people whom we love, we don't tell them that we love them. It is important, that's what I learned, to tell everybody, to tell the people around you that you love them. Do you know your friend, your sibling, your mother, your father, grandmother, anybody? So when you love them, you have to tell them. And that's what the people in the towns did. They all told Mr. Hatch that they loved him. So I want to ask you something. You have to go and tell the people whom you love. It can be your father, your mother, your friend, anybody. You have to go and tell them, I love you. Yes, and you will see that they will smile. they'll be happy. Can you do that for me? I'm sure you will. So now that we've come to the end of the story, I have to tell you something. Yes, my YouTube channel has got some more stories. So don't forget to go to my YouTube channel. And how do you find my YouTube channel? It's called Happy Lobo. Yes, go there and subscribe to that channel. So whenever I have a new video, you'll be able to see it. Is that a deal? Yes, thank you. So, thank you for all the messages that you've sent for my earlier stories. Thank you for all the love. And today, in a special way, I want to ask you to share my stories with those who like to listen to stories. So let's all be happy, and with Happy Lobo, spread a lot of joy. So until the next story, bye-bye.